The WNBA has a problem. Guys, there's ratings for a couple of these games that are eye-poppingly bad.
Kathy Engelbert, this is what happens when you don't protect your superstar.
We all knew Caitlin Clark's absence was going to hurt the WNBA, but now we're starting to see just how bad it really is. And those pay us what you owe us shirts? Let's be honest. They're aging like milk left on the sun. The latest viewership numbers are in, and the drop-off isn't just big, it's catastrophic. But here's the thing. This goes way beyond a ratings dip. What's coming next is going to be even worse for Kathy Engelbert and the entire league. Because now we're getting new updates on Caitlin's recovery, and let's just say, the story that fans have been told up to this point, it's not the whole truth. This is shaping up to be a disaster for the WNBA that's playing out in real time, and the biggest I told you so moment in history for Caitlin Clark's fans. So let's break it down, the numbers, the fallout, and the truth about Caitlin's injury timeline. But first, hit that like button to wish her a full recovery, no matter how long it takes.
Y'all cannot come out there with those shirts of pay us what you owe us, and then do that in the All-Star game.
The players' t-shirts weren't the only statement at the All-Star game. We also got a live demonstration of exactly what the WNBA looks like without Caitlin Clark. And it wasn't pretty. But you wouldn't know it from the way the media covered it. Without Caitlin in the lineup, viewership plunged 36%. But ESPN, they ran with a headline bragging about a triple-digit increase, conveniently comparing it to 2023, the year before Caitlin Clark even set foot in the league. They really thought nobody would notice. Instead, it backfired. Classic Streisand effect. Their spin only made the crash more obvious. And when you combine that with the pay us what you owe us shirts and the flop of a performance on the court, the players didn't just take a PR hit, they got absolutely roasted online. But here's the kicker. That wasn't rock bottom. Because now we've got the numbers from the most recent Fever Sky game, with Caitlin and Angel Reese both sidelined. And the drop-off from their first matchup is nothing short of jaw-dropping.
Let's take a look right here. First time these two teams matched up this season. 2.7 million average views on ABC. Peaked with 3.1 million viewers. Up 115% versus last year's season average on ABC.
Even though Caitlin and the Fever took a big step forward in 2024, while the Sky were headed in the opposite direction, the WNBA still decided to lock them in for 5 head-to-head matchups this season. The first one? An absolute ratings bonanza. Millions tuned in. But the moment Caitlin went down, the freefall began. From 2.7 million viewers in the opener, to 1.9 million in the rematch, and then just 1.5 million in their third meeting. Each game, a little more of the audience disappears. And now, it's fallen even further.
1.31 million, we have officially regressed. We have went way backwards, which is slightly above the average national TV viewership for Fever games this year. But it also is the least watched of the 8 Chicago and Indiana games since 2024.
That's right. Only 1.3 million viewers watched the latest Fever Sky game. And while that might look decent in isolation, in context, it's a disaster. That's 1.4 million fewer people than tuned in for their first meeting, a collapse of more than 50%. To put it in perspective, the preseason exhibition where the Fever faced the Brazilian national team, that also drew 1.3 million viewers in the preseason. And here's the real kicker. These Fever Sky games aren't just any games. They're supposed to be the WNBA's crown jewel matchups, the marquee event, the ones casual fans actually plan their day around.
The WNBA has a problem. Because it seems with Caitlin Clark out, not only are the Indiana Fever games losing their steam, not only is the marquee matchup against the Chicago Sky losing its steam, that's the marquee matchup this league has to offer casual fans. You go up to anybody in the streets, name 2 WNBA players. One is always going to be Caitlin Clark, and the second is usually going to be Angel Reese. Maybe you'll get a Sabrina, maybe. But usually it's going to be those 2.
Now sure, for the Fever, these matchups with the struggling Sky have been a godsend. They've padded the win column and put Indiana in a far better spot to make the playoffs. But beyond that, the reality is impossible to ignore. The casual fans, the millions who tuned in just for Caitlin Clark, are checking out until she's back. And that raises a question the league probably doesn't want anyone asking. Is that why Caitlyn's injury updates have been so vague? Why does every status report feels like it's holding something back? Because the more you look at it, the more it feels less like transparency and more like they're trying to keep hope alive for ticket sales, TV ratings, and everything in between.
1.4 million people checked out. That's not a trend that the WNBA is excited about. That's a trend that Kathy Engelbert would say, hey, Fever, hey, Lynn Dunn, hey, Kelly, hey, Amber, can you guys start dangling that Caitlin Clark return like you used to do? You know, before Caitlin Clark gave a statement and you guys were hands off. Can you guys, just string them along a little bit more? We want to get these ratings back up.
Lately, we've seen Game Time Decision next to Caitlyn's name, only for Stephanie White to turn around and admit she's not even doing full practices yet. I'll get to her actual status in a second, but think about what that does. It plants just enough doubt to keep fans hoping she'll suit up. Because if people knew for sure Caitlyn was out, plenty would dump their tickets or scrap trips they've already booked, costing teams and local economies millions. And when you see the next set of league-wide ratings, you'll understand exactly why they might play that card. The reality is simple. No Caitlyn, no interest.
Sun vs. Aces Sunday, 180,000 views. Dream vs. Mercury Sunday, 160,000 views. Now, if the growth is as substantial as the ladies in the Players Association want you to believe, if the growth is as big as the ladies in the WNBA Players Association want you to believe, as the old guard wants you to believe, these 180s, these 160s would be at least 300,000. At least 300,000 on NBA TV, right?
I mean, these are unrivaled numbers, and not in the way the league would want. We're talking 160,000 viewers. Even for NBA TV, that's brutal. Paige, Angel. Take your pick. None of them can fill their own arenas, and those buildings are 2 or 3 times smaller than an NBA venue. At this point, it's not a debate. Between the All-Star Game flop and these league-wide craters in viewership, the WNBA's dependence on Caitlin Clark isn't just obvious. It's screaming in neon lights. And that's exactly why her fans, casual sports fans, and analysts are all unloading on the league, with Commissioner Kathy Engelbert taking the brunt of the heat.
Kathy Engelbert, this is what happens when you don't protect your superstar. This is what happens when you don't protect your cash cow. This is what happens when you allow gambling to run rampant in your league. I just had to throw that in there because that's what's taking place. This is what happens when you have referees call fouls one way for one individual and not the other way for the other individual. If Caitlin Clark had the same whistle that Paige Beckers had, Caitlin Clark would still be playing till this day. The Indiana Fever would be a top three seed right now.
Everyone's been ripping Kathy Engelbert for refusing to fix the officiating, despite coaches, analysts, and even top players begging for change. They're not asking for much, just consistency. Call the obvious fouls, protect the players who are actually driving interest. The refs won't do it for Caitlyn or anyone on the Fever for that matter, but they'll do it for others. Just listen to Sophie Cunningham talk about the superstar whistles Paige Beckers gets.
I love Paige to death. Do not get me wrong. I think, I think she's a hell of a player and would love to play with her one day. But those refs were giving her every freaking whistle last night. You literally couldn't touch her. And that shit is so annoying to me. And if you're gonna do that, then give it to our guards. I just hate the inconsistencies. Or we know she's a good rookie and she's gonna get some whistles, but to get the treatment she got last night was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Calls.
Well, she's gonna be one of those players that she's already gonna be a GOAT. She's gonna be a Hall of Famer. Everyone knows that she's freaking hell of a player, but getting some of those whistles already, oh my, I couldn't.
The Connecticut Sun game was the black eye of the season, the clearest, most public symbol of the abuse Caitlyn's taken on the court, with nothing more than a slap on the wrist from the league. It's exactly the kind of thing that makes Caitlyn's fans shrug when the league's numbers tank without her. Many will tell you flat out, if she's out, I'm out. Because without Caitlyn in the lineup, the complaints are always the same. It's slow, it's stale, it's boring.
Between the two rivals, I can tell you a big problem right now. Watchability. These games are not fun to watch right now. And honestly, some of the games with Caitlin Clark were not fun to watch. We were talking about this the other day, and Stephanie White, her offensive style, that basketball's play style, it's much harder to watch on TV than Christy Sides was. I'm just being honest. It's not nearly as entertaining of basketball as we saw last year.
And now we've hit the point where things could spiral for the WNBA. The latest updates on Caitlin's status? Not exactly the good news the league was hoping for. Sure, she looks fine in a few social clips, even casually kicking a soccer ball, but looking fine and being in game shape are two very different things. By all accounts, she's nowhere close to ready, which means this absence might not just be a couple more games, it could be weeks, maybe the rest of the regular season. And every single day she's out, the league's biggest draw is stuck on the sidelines, and the ratings, attendance, and hype are sinking right along with her.
Scott Agnes is one of the people named in Christine Brennan's book as basically an in-the-know person that is around the team, so he knows more than we do. And someone said, just can't wait till Cece's back. She's the most dynamic electric player in the WNBA. Great job, Lexi. Have patience at least several more weeks. So everyone's kind of expecting the 22nd as a return, because they're playing, I think that they play on like the 18th and the 22nd. They have a 4-day break. I think everyone's expecting the 22nd as a return. Like several more weeks and you're into the playoffs. Like Stephanie White was saying that she's not done anything with the team. Like she's not even shooting around with the team.
While I'm not a fan of Scott Agnes labeling some Caitlin Clark supporters the dark side, the guy is around the team every day, and he's plugged in. Now he's saying Caitlin will be out several weeks, and let's be real. Several doesn't mean 1 or 2. That's at least 3. Here's the problem. We're in the final stretch of the season. The regular season wraps in less than a month, and Stephanie White has already admitted Caitlin isn't even in full practice yet. At this point, fans and analysts are connecting the dots, and many are starting to believe the unthinkable. Caitlin Clark might be done for the year.
If I'm their coach, she needs to practice for at minimum a week. At the minimum, she needs to be doing everything in practice for at least a week before you throw her back in the mix. Now you're going to throw her back in the mix when all of these teams are at peak condition, and we already know what happens when Caitlin Clark gets back out on the court. Teams play defense on her differently. They play extra physical with her. There's all of these different factors that come into play. That's why I'm sort of leaning to the point of maybe Caitlin should be out for the rest of the season. Maybe this season is just done for her. Maybe it doesn't make sense for her to come back into the mix if the Fever aren't contenders. Are the Fever contenders at this point? I'm just not so sure. Do you risk another injury that can again compound and turn into something else down the line?
If you caught Caitlin's interview with Sue Bird, she openly admitted something telling. She feels pressure to play because of the fans. And last time, that pressure made her rush back before she was ready. This time, her mom stepped in with a different message. Slow down. You've already given everything to your team, the league, and the fans. Now it's time to put yourself first, and that's exactly what she's doing. No rushing, no cutting corners, and right now, there's no timeline for her return.
So I think that's been like the hardest part, has just been like the stop and go of everything. Like, yeah. And also like with the type of injuries that I've dealt with, like there's no real, it's not like 6 weeks. All right, you're coming back for the Connecticut Sun game on August
all about how you
30th
feel in the moment.
Or whatever. It's like, how do you feel? Like, and even like when I have been back, like I don't know how I'm gonna feel the next day after playing, like when you're dealing with like these type of injuries. So
this is why there's a very real possibility that everyone, from the Fever to the league office, already knows Caitlin could be done for the rest of the regular season. Maybe even the year. They just can't admit it, because saying it out loud would be financially devastating for both the team and the league. And the timing couldn't be worse. NFL preseason, college football. Even preseason games are already outdrawing the WNBA in the ratings. Heck, we've got more people betting on the colors of the rubber objects thrown on the court than the games themselves. The league is in trouble, and that's bad news for both players and owners. Because the more obvious it becomes that the WNBA can't survive without Caitlin Clark, the less leverage players will have in the next CBA. And that's why more and more people believe this is headed straight for a strike. But here's the reality. A strike wouldn't just hurt the WNBA, it could end it.
Either way, if you're the WNBA, you cannot afford a strike. You cannot afford a canceled season. This league doesn't have enough of a dedicated fan base to survive a canceled season. Think about what's happening with the WNBA right now. They're in the latter stages of the regular season. No one's really talking about it. Outside of winged wieners flying on the court, no one's talking about the WNBA.
Listen, I love watching Caitlin Clark, but let's be real. If there's a strike, the casuals are gone, and they're not coming back. We've seen this movie before, MLB, NHL. A work stoppage or major disruption costs years of momentum. The difference? Those leagues had decades of history and deep fan bases to fall back on. The WNBA is balancing on a folding chair. Even with Caitlin, there's no guarantee they'd fully recover. And after the way the league has treated her fans, branding them problematic and worse, there's no stampede back to the arenas. In fact, plenty will watch the ratings crater and call it karma. That's the real danger here. Caitlin's injury hasn't just slowed the fever, it ripped the curtain down and exposed the entire WNBA. And when the dust settles, the only thing keeping it upright may be the NBA's checkbook, just like it's been since day one. If you're still here, drop a goat in the comments, because that's exactly what you are for sticking around. Thanks for watching.